So I figured, just because like my videos, they always end up being like 1 hour something, because I go so much into details. I don't like misunderstandings and people misquoting you and all of this stuff, But I figured if I just record all of my so-called statements on TikTok, because they have like a timer, like a 3-minute timer. So if I record it there, it should be like 3 minutes times 15 statements. So the video shouldn't be longer than 45 to 50 minutes maximum. So let's just try that. It's gonna be like cut, but okay. Hang with me, okay? Statement number 1, celebritism and just overall celebrity culture is starting to die out. So what do I mean with this? I'm basically saying that, like back when I was a teenager, because I'm a millennial, we had like gossip news, we have gossip newspapers, and every other week it was something about some kind of celebrity that has been out partying, doing something, or pregnant by this, or it was always something. Most of the time very unnecessary information, for the public. And I think like the reason why this so-called celebrity culture, where people are worshiping celebrities almost, following their every move and all of this stuff, the reason why it's dying out is because like social media has made that kind of gap that existed before between like regular human beings and celebrities much thinner, because now you're on social media and you can see their everyday life, whatever. You don't have to wait until the next newspapers come out or anything like that. Do you understand? So that gap is a little bit, it's almost non-existent anymore because of people just being their own broadcasters, being their own everything, The other thing, when I'm saying that celebritism, like, people wanting to be celebrities, wanting to be like influencer, public figures like that, that's what I also mean. The reason why it's also dying out is because, I don't know if this was Erykah Badu, but somebody said like, they had like a percentage, like the people, is this many that are followers and is this many of you that are creators. So when you have this many followers that will just like, they won't come up with any ideas of themselves. Most of the time they don't have the courage or maybe not even the interest to do it. But then you have like this small percentage that do something. Most of the time, like the small percentage that do something, you have this so-called majority, like not all of them, but they will look at them and whatever they create and feel like, I can do that too. That's not so hard. So instead of just having that initially in themselves and be like, okay, you know what, let me create something that I have an interest of. It's almost this competitive, like, okay, I see this person doing it, now I'm gonna try to do that as well, but a little bit different, basically. Yeah, and also we have bigger fishes to fry, the government is coming out with news about aliens and all of this stuff, and ain't nobody got time for that, We have the economy that is upside down. People are living at their family homes because they can't afford to buy the first place to live, and just living like in biblical phantoms every other week, basically. I also wanted to add with this, it's not just celebrity culture, it's also brands. I took a course in marketing like a few years ago something, and one of the teachers was talking about that people don't buy your product, they buy who you are, Like one of the reasons like these big old brands like Chanel, Dior and all of this, is because they have some history to them, like it makes people feel like they're part of some kind of movement, some kind of something, And it's harder nowadays because if you have that celebrity culture in mind, you understand that if people think that they can create the same thing as you, better, or just like the same, then why should they go and walk around with your brand? Do you understand? Like, you can be phenomenal. You can have gone through stuff that nobody on this earth has been going through, and you trying to profit out of that or something like that. It would always be somebody somewhere that will be like, nah, I can't do anything you can do, I can do better, kind of. Do you understand? So I think like that's one of the reasons why, like these big brands, like you don't see that as much. I don't feel like people are so, like, it's good. I'm gonna be honest, it's good. If you're thinking about the environmental everything, how it's affecting us, and this overconsumption. Society, or some people in society have a bigger issue with Black women expressing their pain, their experiences when it comes to interracial couples and interracial dating. A bigger issue than hearing a blanting out white male being racist, saying that he don't want his children, grown children, to mix with another ethnicity, especially Blacks. Or hearing other foreign groups talking about that their family, their relatives would never accept, that kind of union. So I feel like me as a Black woman myself, I had gone through my experiences, when it comes to interracial dating and having the product of interracial dating in my family. So I have some meat on my bones when it comes to this subject. And I feel that most of the times when I or anybody else like me try to share, like, all of the discrimination and disadvantages that you have been experiencing as a Black woman when it comes to this, you get met with a lot of hostility. People get very offended. And I don't see that kind of offensive-ness when it comes to other people. They can be clear out saying stuff like, oh, in my religion or in my family back home, they would never accept me dating or marrying outside, and nobody says anything. But as soon as a Black woman express her feelings about it, people get very offended, and they try to change her mind. And not change your mind in the sense that, okay, let's sit down and try to figure out what led to this, what happened to you for you to be like this, because obviously nobody wakes up and just decide to dislike or hate something or somebody, like most of the times it's rooted in something. So when these people, few percentage, but enough to be irritating, people are very phony like that, it's not reciprocated. It's basically like, another person can say the same thing, if not worse, but you react with nothing. And then just because you already have a dislike for a certain group, Black women, whatever they say sounds like spewed hate in your ears, It's your filtering that is the issue, I think. We all here, everybody, we are all having a human experience. On different levels, but we all are having a human experience, even though we are created from different sources. There's one and one only creator. Like, that's my belief, that is only one official creator. But then everybody here is, como say, without sounding, yeah, I should say we all have a human experience on different levels. That's it. The foreigners that proceed to be super nationalists are 9 out of 10 times people that have been growing up in the West and have experienced or seen the hate, the discrimination, the racism directly for a long time, and eventually decided to move back home to the motherland or something like that, and decided then that when they are there, they're not gonna have the same experience, like over my dead body kind of, Accurate mental health evaluations on foreigners made here in the West cannot be reliable because of one, back in the days, like some people know, with medical racism, mental health was used to minimize people, to brainwash other people to thinking that stuff like slavery was okay, because these people, they were infantile, they couldn't provide for themselves, they were lesser, basically. And number two, to get correct data about somebody's mental health state and all of this stuff, it's a lot of components that need to be taken in evaluation, and we need to be on the same level. We need to be on board when it comes to other stuff in society, like norms, how we are living and perceive stuff, and just overall how we see life, how we go through life, had to be somewhat on the same level. What I mean with that is that an elephant cannot tell a giraffe what the giraffe can do and cannot do. They can do observation, but they still need to compare with other giraffes. They can't use them as the mold, the prototype. Like, I'm normal, I'm this, I'm that. We have to go from my emotional state, my thinking, my being, and everything that is different from that is abnormal. Do you understand? Number three, intersectional. Religious people that bash on ancient spirituality and say that it's evil because of the usage of herbs, rituals, calling on ancestors for guidance and protections, they are hypocrites. Christianity have this ritual where they are eating the body of Christ, the bread, and they are drinking the blood of Jesus, the wine. If that is not a ritual, then I don't know. Muslims, they pray and they take the guidance of the Prophet Muhammad, that is basically their ancestor. The Jewish people, they have a practice or a ritual called kapparot, I think. You can see this in Western countries in Africa as well, like Nigeria and so on. They would take like a rooster or a hen and take this 3 times around somebody's head, and this is to get like bad spirits off that person, or you know, they have their reasons why they're doing it, but I think most of all is for protection. And afterwards they will slaughter that chicken. Racism is a big issue and it's very real, but I would say that colorism is more in your face. Let me give an example. If you are a light-skinned person, especially a light-skinned person that is racially ambiguous, you can travel all over the world and you will be perceived as one of the locals and experience that kind of treatment, and not the bad side of colorism. Let me give another example. You know, when they're talking about black women, especially dark-skinned black women, being masculine and having masculine traits and masculine features, I feel like it's very hypocritical most of the times. Because if we take like Asian women in comparison, not all, I'm talking about the Thai, the Philippines, like the darker Asian ones, they are very desirable by European men, like most people know. And they are seen and deemed as very feminine in most people's eyes. And if you put a black woman and an Asian woman like that side by side, most of the time the only difference is maybe the hair texture and the skin complexion. They have their nose, they have their lips, sometimes they have all of this that is so-called masculine features, big features, whatever you would say, and they are still not deemed or seen as masculine. Do you understand? So this makes me understand that this whole thing has more to do with colorism than it has to do with anything else. I'm just saying. The man who said the revolution will not be televised was correct. We are living in a time where we are moving more and more to digital tools, digital platforms. So if the revolution will be widespread, it will be on Twitter. I'm joking. No, but honestly, I think he's trying to say that it's a state of mind. It's something that cannot be recorded, like it needs to be experienced. This is more of an observation than a statement. I remember when I was in Ecuador and I tried something called sweat lodge. You're basically in a tent with a lot of people and it's like a sauna, but it's like an ancient ritual that these First Nation, the indigenous people used to do. And I remember all of us sitting inside that tent and we were instructed to call on our ancestors, because this is what we do when we need help, when we need guidance, protection, whatever. We call for our ancestors because our ancestors was known as and are still known as very resilient, loving, taking care of the mother nature, Gaia, and all of this stuff. And I was thinking for myself, spiritual white people, who are you guys calling on when you call on your ancestors? Are you calling on the same ancestors that didn't know the difference from a Punjabi to a native Indian? Are you calling on the same ancestors that slaughtered and hammock all across, atrocities all across the world? Like, which kind of ancestors are you calling on? Because the ancestors that we have and the ancestors that you had that lived in the same period, I'm telling you, it cannot be a good match. Especially when this was a tent for healing. Everybody was there to release and all of this stuff. Like how you want to be greeted with somebody's ancestors that caused traumas, still continuing. I'm just curious. Today's educational system is a joke. It's creating workers, not leaders. And I will show a little clip.
You think anyone really gives a shit about what your major is, English literature, biology, whatever? The whole point of a college degree is to show a potential employer that you showed up someplace 4 years in a row, completed a series of tasks reasonably well and on time. So if he hires you, there's a semi-decent chance that you'll show up there every day and not fuck his business.
I can't be the only one that have been experiencing this. Like, you thought something about university. You thought that, as soon as you met somebody and they told you that they were studying for this, they had a bachelor in that, they were proceeding for a master's degree or something, automatically you thought, this person must be smart, this person must be brilliant. And then you start yourself and you see your classmates and your teachers and everybody, and you just like, wow. Like, I know some people today that holds master degrees but cannot hold a simple conversation or anything like that. They have no common sense. Like, do you understand? The only thing they got to their name is that little piece of paper, But all of the other stuff, non-existent. Like, if you are somebody that so-called thinks a little bit outside the box and you have an assignment and they ask you to put your reflection, okay, so reflect a little bit, share what did you think and all of this stuff, and you really deep dive and you do that, most of the time you get met with a lot of you basically don't pass the course. So eventually you start learning that, okay, if I want to pass this course, I have to play by their rules, I have to talk like they talk and discuss like they discuss and think like they think, just to pass. But if they ask you a real honest opinion, we can go there. We can really go there. Racism is a social construction that is low vibrational as a mofo. I mean that the higher up you come in society, you start to see that this whole racial division and all of this stuff doesn't exist as much at the top as at the bottom. So what do I mean? I mean like people like Donald Trump that was talking shit about Mexicans and everything. You have interviews where you see him shake hands with Mexican leaders, get along with them about building stuff, and you could see how his followers started to be like, nah, this is not what I voted for, what is he doing, being two-faced? And then you have like big nations as the United States collaborating with Middle Eastern people like Saudi Arabia and all of this stuff, and these people are very anti-Arabs, very anti-Muslims, and let's not talk about the African leaders. They talk about how much they care for their nation, they want to see Africa grow and glow and all of this stuff, but the second they get the opportunity to collaborate with somebody to get their little dime or whatever, they would throw that whole nation under the bus, So at the top, the only color people see is green. This whole racism stuff is something that is, I know people have been saying this before, but it is so true. I mean, okay, just because you're a millionaire or billionaire, I don't think like you are excluded from racism. I see interviews where they experience that as well, discrimination and all of this stuff. But I'm just saying that it's lesser when you're up there. Racism is low vibrational. If it wasn't, like, how could you have people like Indian people, Asian people that usually don't like black people, can't stand them, think the lowest of them, but they still decide to settle and move to Africa and raise their kids and build their businesses and all of this stuff? Do you understand? I'm just saying. I saw this post on TikTok. It was a black girl, alternative black girl, that was talking about how shocked she was to notice that it was so many racist people in the so-called rave, emo, alternative space. She expected something else but got a little bit shocked. And I would say, as a black girl that have grown up being so-called alternative, I was a so-called raver myself, listened to trance, psychedelic trance, all of it, hardstyle, you name it. Went on the festivals, like out in the woods and all of that. The only difference is I didn't do the drugs, just kept myself to the alcohol. I would say I'm not shocked. Most of these people that go to events like this, they will be popping like lab-made chemical drugs. Do you understand? So they already low vibrational as fuck. Like they're not even living in the 3D. Do you understand? They can't comprehend the 3D, and on that kind of low vibrational drugs, they can't extend or ascend to any other dimension for that matter. And you expect these people to have common sense and common decency. It's like, bruv, nah, these people are living in a bubble, a delusional bubble. I don't think anybody has missed the Tyler Perry interview where he is basically saying that black women need to lower their standards, especially when it comes to black men. As a black woman, I would want to see more so-called gold diggers, black women that are gold diggers, that black women that exclusively date athletes, famous people that earn a certain amount of whatever. Do you understand? Because me as a black woman that have been dating all kinds of different people, I will share my experience and say that we as black women, when people are with us, it doesn't matter ethnicity, they get very like, how do you say, too comfortable. Do you understand? Because you fix everything. You are the provider. You are the head of the household or whatever. Do you understand? So I will take like an example, personal example. Like I'm so far from gold digger as possible. I am one of these women that Tyler Perry described. Like, I don't ask for anything, not even the bare minimum. Do you understand? For me, it's like, you just treat me good, you have respect, and all of this, and we're good. Do you understand? Like, I don't care about your educational background, your finances, your anything like that. And I'm telling you, when you are like that, a lot of moochers will come your way, unfortunately. So I have met people that have no ambitions, no goals in life whatsoever, you know, and I haven't been stressing them or complaining or anything like that. Like, I have been hustling, doing my thing. But the thing is, like, as soon as we stop talking, as soon as we stop dating, I see the same man that couldn't even get a job when we were going out, that couldn't even take me on a real date. But you heard stories about how he flew his ex to Jamaica and all of this stuff. You see the same man so-called evolve when he is with another type of woman, especially a non-black woman, you know, then all of a sudden he can be the head of the household. So it's not like these people, these men, black men, that they don't have that capability. They do have, but they just pick and choose who they're gonna man up for. Do you understand? So I would say black women. Okay, so this one is mostly for my black sisters, my fellow black sisters in Europe. You know, the tokenism, the whole thing that it can only be one black person at a time, at a job place, school, or whatever. For my mental health, as a dark-skinned black woman, I feel the need to be around other people that resembles me, that understand what I'm going through on a day-to-day basis, on a micro and nano level. Do you understand? Most of the times, but I experience some of the times that it's been hard. It's been hard, and it almost resembles like a Uncle Tom, Mammy kind of situation when you have two token people at the same place. You see them as a fellow sister, as a fellow whatever, and they see you as competition. It is sad. That shit is even, I would say that is almost worse than racism. For me, I think. I would say that. Yeah, growing up, like from the age of like 16 to like 18, 19, I had a friends group. Everybody was black. And being here in Europe, all of the black girls that was in that group had been so-called token black girls in their friends group. So once we decided to start hanging out, partying and doing stuff together, it felt like, oh, you could breathe. You understand? It was like 5 of us. One from Gambia, 2 from Kenya, 1 from Angola, and I think 1 from Mozambique, and then me. And we used to do all of this fun stuff together, and it was just fun going out because all of us had different types when it came to guys as well. Okay, so box braids, cornrows, locks, not dreadlocks, are in fact black hairstyles. I've seen a lot of discussion about this on social media like Instagram and TikTok. I even saw like an Australian woman going out of hand, starting to talk about, oh, why are you coming to Europe then, you know, for our clean waters and everything. And he's like, bruv, are you kidding me? You have nothing to come with, so now you're gonna talk about shit that don't even make sense. Like I said in another video, YouTube video, I had a co-worker that was Latino, and he asked me if I thought that it was wrong for him to have like cornrows or something like that. And I tried to explain to him, I was like, you are Latin. I've been to Ecuador and I had my little tour, and this lady was telling me that women had different braids you could show, like, I'm married, I'm single, I have kids, I come from this village and all of this stuff. And even here in Europe, like, people had their little braids or whatever. But when we're talking about box braids, do you understand? Like the specific box braids, rasta, some people call it rasta. When we're talking about cornrows, This is in fact black hairstyles. And I don't know why people are trying to fight against this so much. Like, most of the time it's not to be mean or to be non-inclusive or to be like, this is ours and you cannot, possessive like that. It's coming from scientific data. The cuticles, whatever it's called, like how your hair is growing out of your head is different. Like a black person, your hair grows out zigzag. White person is very straight. Do you understand? So when you have these protective hairstyles, it pulls a lot on your head. Do you understand? And if you have already so-called fine hair, Caucasian hair, and you have all of this extra weight and all of this extra everything, like eventually your hair will thin out. It's not me saying it, it's science, it's proof. Do you understand? But when you have coarser hair, like, bruv, this is to protect your hair. Do you understand? And people will be very fast to be like, oh, but you guys are copying us. You having wigs, you dye your hair blonde, and you do this and you do that and all of this stuff. And it's like, bruv, listen. Let me just remind you guys that nobody's stealing your hairstyle or hair type. And I'm talking to the Caucasian community. Like, you have black people that naturally are born with blonde and red hair. I will try to find some pictures and show you aboriginals that are born with that. When you are the original man, like, if y'all heard something called Eve gene, that basically means that every ethnicity can come out of the black woman. She can give birth to everybody, more or less. I'm not saying it, science is saying it. Do you understand? Keep that in mind, okay? And another thing that you should keep in mind as well is that when it comes to the whole hair extension business and all of that, most of the time the kind of hair that people so-called buy and use, the so-called good quality that they want to have, or most of the time, it's never Caucasian hair people are selling. Do you understand? It's Latin, Peruvian, Brazilian, Colombian, and all of this stuff. Do you understand? It's thick, coarse. Do you understand? And they have chemically straight in it, but naturally is mixed or indigenous, Do you understand? So these people talking about, oh, you're trying to copy us and you taking our hair and this and stuff. No. Nobody's taking European hair. Like, you yourself, like, try to do like a, what do you call it? Like a ponytail and see how thick that is. Huh? You would need a lot of heads, shave a lot of heads to get a full type of head. Do you understand? It's not to be disrespectful, but this is the fact. They have like a whole documentary about this. Me, myself, I don't wear weaves or extensions like that anymore. Mostly because when I traveled throughout Latin America, they had a whole, a lot of Colombians, not Colombians, Venezuelans, they came to Colombia because of stuff that was happening. And you saw women selling their hair just to be able to feed their kids and all of this. And I'm like, you know what? I believe their hair is connected to your inner being and everything. So when people go through trauma like that and you wear their hair, you wear their trauma as well. Do you understand? So for me personally, I have my own reasons. Do you understand? If I'm gonna wear weave or anything like that, it's not gonna be human like that. Do you understand? I'm just saying. But let people be, bruh. They will have like short wigs. Do you understand? And when they take that wig off, their natural hair will be long and thick as a motherfucker. So what is this saying? They're not trying to be anybody else. They're not trying to copy anybody else or self-hating. It's a self-expression. That's it. But I would say, like I said in another video, like as long as it's cultural appreciation, I feel like anybody can do anything, Do you want to do your box braid? Fine, do it. You want to do your cornrows? Fine, do it. But I'm just saying that have in mind that your experience while having this compared to another one is not going to be the same. So you understand why people are a little bit like on the edge when it comes to that. Do you understand? And also have in mind the different hair textures. Like sometimes it's not hate, it's just people trying to warn you to be nice. So when you see after a while that you start losing hair and all of this stuff, I'm just saying, don't say that nobody warned you. You understand? But everybody's allowed to wear whatever they want to, but just keep in mind where it came from, the historical evidence. When a black girl experienced pretty privilege, a lot of other ethnicities and colorist people will be hella mad, hella pressed, and hella jealous. I think it's because like they know how the system works. They know what people like, people see, how people think, and all of this stuff, you know? So them seeing firsthand, you know, that you experience this, oh God, I'm telling you, the ugly behaviors in people are just like that, you know? It's disgusting. And the sad part, pretty privilege, I want to do a whole separate video about this, is that most of the people that so-called experience pretty privilege, they haven't been like that throughout their life. They had like the ugly duckling years superior to something like that, and then gradually, you know, and sometimes the mind doesn't follow. So in their mind, they're still the funny, goofy friend or whatever, but now society deemed them as you are part of the privileged, pretty people, you know, and they don't know how to act. And they start receiving hate and jealousy, and they like, what is this coming from? You know, because they're not used to it. It is a double-edged sword, really. And I feel like most of the times when you talk about this, people would automatically start to dissect you. It doesn't matter. You can be a 10 out of 10, a 15 out of 10. When you start talking about pretty privilege, people will look at you and be like, what is pretty with you? Do you understand? And it's not because you're ugly or anything like that. It's because people are not used to people being so direct, you know, being so honest. And most of all, loving themselves in a society that benefits from you not liking yourself even. So yeah, when it comes to pretty privilege and being black, ooh, child, I love to see it. Even if it doesn't happen to me, when I see other black girls, black women experience that, and I see the people around how they are looking, you know, how they want to step their game up. Like I had a classmate, very beautiful, you know, and effortlessly, like she didn't even try, you know, came to school, all of this stuff. I'm telling you, the day after, whatever she wore, now you had classmates wearing somewhat the same. Do you understand? And I'm like, these people, they are not even, they don't resemble each other whatsoever. Like if you want to compete with somebody in your own caliber. Like how you gonna go and compete with somebody that is like even on your same caliber or level? Okay, so this one is an extra. This is just something that I've been thinking about for a long time. Have you noticed that in every friends group of 3 people, especially the groups where you have somebody that is so-called big, voluptuous, somebody that's tall, and somebody that is small, tiny, short. When you have those 3 combinations in a friends group, like why is it that I would say 9 out of 10 times the personalities are exactly what you expected? Like even in cartoons, you have like cartoons like Ed, and Eddie, you know? The short one being like almost suffering from Napoleon complex, being very like bossy and, you know, like that. And the tall, skinny one being like the goofy one, you know, like, oh, I don't know what's going on, you know? And the big one being like the klutzy, the goofy, I already say goofy, but you understand, like the funny one, basically. I've seen this so many times, and I can't be the only one that has noticed this as well. And the thing is, like, narratives are so outdated, you know? They're so outdated. So I'm like, whoever is writing new scripts to sitcoms, to whatever, like, can somebody just come up with something new? Like, we're seeing these so many times now, huh? Can we try something else? Can the love interest be somebody totally different than we're used to? Can the hoochie mama be somebody else? Huh? candid, whatever. Do you understand what I mean? Switch it up a little bit, you know? Evolve with time.